According to government statistics, roughly 50% of new businesses cease trading within 3 years, and a whopping 17% of those businesses just so happen to be operating within the construction industry. But why is it that whilst many contractors are going into liquidation, many companies seem to be thriving and have been around for many, many decades? Well, in this video, I'm going to be telling you the top traits of contractors that always stand the test of time and how you can implement some of these strategies into your construction business so that you can stand the test of time as well. My name is Aaron. I'm a chartered quantity surveyor and owner of Hayden Construction Services, a management consultant to the real estate development and construction industry, where I help my clients scale their businesses, make more profit, and win more contracts. And so without further ado, let's get into the video. The first successful trait that I often see in successful contractors is that they have strong leadership and management teams in place, right the way from the board level all the way down to the site managers who are delivering the project. And you've got to remember that the construction industry is very much a people-driven industry. It's a very close-knit community. People tend to talk, people know each other, and so therefore the best managers and the best leadership teams that I've often worked with are those that have integrity. Oftentimes contractors get a bad rap for poor practices within the industry. It could be shoddy workmanship, for example, or it could be breaching health and safety conditions, or it could be the aggressive behavior of senior managers towards their employees. But the best managers that I've worked with and the best leadership teams that I've been able to support on large construction projects are always those that have the integrity, treat people fairly, they don't do anything that they would later regret, such as taking shortcuts, especially when it comes to health and safety, and they demonstrate their position within the industry as those who are true leaders who gain the respect of other people. Strong management and leadership teams also consist of those who have the technical experience developed over a long period of time before they've started their construction businesses or they've been hired into key areas of management within the company. The construction industry is a unique industry where you do need a bit of time in the industry before you can call yourself a manager or a leader. It isn't like any other industries, for example, where you can self-teach yourself how to be a construction manager or a leader. You have to have time served in the industry. If you take, for example, digital marketing or personal training, these are professions that you can pretty much teach yourself, or you can learn through a little bit of trial and error. You can watch plenty of videos on YouTube, or you can buy books, and you can teach yourself how to be a digital marketer or a personal trainer. Construction, on the other hand, is not like that, especially when you're dealing with multi-million-dollar projects where anything could go wrong and end up costing you the shirt off of your back. It's a highly risky industry, and you need time served in the industry before you can call yourself a good leader or a good manager. And so the chances of graduating from college or university and starting a multi-million-dollar construction company within 2 years is very slim. The best contractors, they know that, and that's why they hire people that have experience. Now, there's nothing wrong in hiring assistants or junior members into your team, and many of the best construction companies do that because they understand that to have a long-term vision, they need to be thinking about long-term employment, long-term management, long-term leadership. What is the vision in the next 5 years, 10 years time, 15 years time? And people don't work forever, they retire. So the best companies, when it comes to leadership and management, they know that they have to be involved in succession planning. They need to make sure that they're hiring graduates and trainees into the company who are hopefully going to be invested in the company and stay long term, although that is a different conversation when it comes to employee retention. But employees like to work for managers and leadership teams who have their heads screwed on, are well organized, know where they're going, and also act with integrity. So that's why I would say that leadership and management is a huge part of the long-term vision and long-term success of contractors within the industry. The second trait of successful contractors is that they have good cash flow. Now, the construction industry is one of those industries, I've touched on it before, it is extremely risky, and that's why 17% of all companies that go bankrupt tend to come from the construction industry. And the key issue here is cash flow. And the reason why cash flow is such an issue is because it's a unique industry in the sense that you're doing the work on a project before you end up getting paid. And I've worked on construction projects where I've been helping my clients and they're working under a contract where the payment terms could be anywhere between 30 days, which is quite common within in the industry, right the way up to 50 days or even 60 days. So you've got to think about how a contractor is going to cash flow their projects and pay all of their supply chain if they're having to wait 30 to 60 days before they get paid by their client. Think about it like this. If you have subcontractors that you have to pay and you have a supply chain that consists of various different building merchants and material suppliers, they all want to get paid as well. But you might not necessarily be able to pay them until you've been paid by your client. And this is why the best contractors who understand cash flow know that they need to negotiate. Not only is it about negotiating with your client for more favorable payment terms, where you can reduce the time you're waiting to get paid from maybe 60 to 50 days down to maybe 28 days. The best contractors know that they need to negotiate their payment terms because they have to be thinking about cash flow, money into the business versus money out of the business. The second thing they do is they negotiate with their trade suppliers and their subcontractors. There's no point in signing up to 28-day payment terms with your subcontractors if you're not going to get paid for 30 days, for example, because you're always going to have a couple of days where your subcontractor is going to be chasing you because you owe them money. And it's even worse in a scenario where you're on 50, 60-day payment terms, but you signed up to 30-day payment terms with your supply chain. It just creates a massive issue. It's a huge headache. And as the saying goes, cash is king, because the last thing you want is a subcontractor or a trade supplier who is going to be pursuing you through court because you haven't paid them, because you haven't got the cash in from your client. They could end up going down the court route where they could issue a winding up petition against you, and that will flag up on your Experian file. Other clients will be able to see that you're a non-paying contractor. You're going to end up losing business because people are going to be concerned about your financial position. It's a mess. So you want to make sure that you have great cash flow, and the best contractors in the industry, they understand cash flow, they understand how to negotiate favorable payment terms so that they can bring money into the business and have plenty of time to pay their supply chain. And that leads me on to my third point. Successful contractors look after their supply chain. I think I may have mentioned this in the first point when it comes down to integrity. A lot of contractors seem to abuse their supply chain. I personally have never understood that, and I've managed projects on behalf of my clients where they have the philosophy that the supply chain can wait, that the supply chain isn't as important as delivering the project for the client. But you have to look after your supply chain. And I've always said that if you look after your supply chain will look after you. If you treat your subcontractors with respect, you honor your bills, you pay your contractors' valuations on time, they're always going to show up to the job. And if you treat them well, they're more likely to bend over backwards. And trust me, I've been there. I've been involved in projects where I've been the lead quantity surveyor on a project, and I've had a subcontractor who I needed them in at the weekend, and I needed them to bring extra men to the project to help push the program along. And because I always treated them fairly, I always made sure that I gave them a fair valuation, always made sure that they got paid on time. I would chase up accounts and make sure that their invoices were being settled on time. Because of that, the subcontractor had a mutual respect for me and helped me get out of a sticky situation. So you have to look after your supply chain. Always make sure that you pay your supply chain on time. If you sign up to 28-day payment terms, make sure you pay them on or before the day that the payment is due. And I understand that cash flow can be an issue, but many good contractors that I've worked with, if there are issues with cash flow and they're trying to bring the money in from the client before they pay their supply chain, it's common courtesy to let your supply chain know that their payments may be slightly late. There's nothing worse than being a subcontractor and you don't know when you're going to get paid. Good contractors also manage their supply chain effectively as well. And again, this comes down to good management and leadership within an organization. And what good subcontractor management looks like is essentially just being fair to your subcontractors and your suppliers. The good contractors that I've worked with, they always treat their subcontractors fairly. Clients that I work with who treat their subcontractors fairly tend to be the contractors who don't overassess interim valuations for subcontractors. They're not what we would describe as subby bashing, deducting money from subcontractors, always pointing the finger of blame. They treat their subcontractors fairly. And if you want to get on in construction and you want to stand the test of time and be a contractor with a long-term vision, you have to look after your supply chain. You've got to make sure that you treat them fairly. The next point is that successful contractors take health and safety seriously. Now, I was involved in a project and we had a really good health and safety leader, and what he explained to us is that there is a direct correlation between the success of project delivery and the success of contractors and health and safety, and that those contractors who are taking health and safety seriously see much better outcomes on their construction projects that finish on time and also finish within budget. And the reason being is because when people come to work and they feel safe and they know they're in an environment where people generally care about them, it makes workers feel a little bit more motivated to go the extra mile, to put in that extra work to get the job done. Think about it like this: if you was working on a construction project and it was an absolute mess, building materials everywhere, cluttered, people were just doing whatever they wanted, working in unsafe environments, what kind of impression does that give you as a worker turning up to site? I know for me it would give the impression that the leadership and the management don't really care, and if they don't care, then why should I care? So that's why health and safety is extremely important within the industry, and it's something that top contractors prioritize. They make sure that they hire health and safety managers into the business. They make sure that they do the relevant training and qualifications to keep on top of health and safety legislations, to make sure that their site setup is clean and free from potential risks and hazards. All of these things they do is not only to comply with government legislation, it's genuinely to protect those who are working on site. And so if you want to be a leading contractor and you have a long-term vision for success within the industry, you need to make sure that your sites are compliant with health and safety and that you're taking your responsibility as a contractor seriously. And that's about it for today's video. So I hope you got something useful from this. Don't forget to give this video a like, comment below, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.